If authorities ever tell you not to touch a small object you find on the ground, you should listen carefully, because in 2023, a tiny missing capsule in Australia triggered a massive emergency search operation across hundreds of kilometers of highway, not because it was as explosive, not because it carried secret information, but because simply standing too close to it for long enough could seriously harm you. And for several terrifying days, nobody knew where it was. Welcome to Tales Beyond the Flame. This story is based on the real disappearance of a radioactive capsule in Western Australia during January of 2023. The object itself was incredibly small, roughly the size of a pea, easy to overlook completely. But inside the capsule was a radioactive substance called caesium-137, used in mining equipment, dangerous enough that prolonged exposure could potentially cause radiation sickness or burns. The capsule had originally been transported from a remote mine site north of the city of Perth. During transportation, something went wrong. At some point along the journey, the capsule disappeared. Nobody knew exactly when, nobody knew exactly where, and that was the terrifying part. Because the transport route covered more than 1,000 kilometers of highway across isolated stretches of Australia. The realization reportedly came days later during an inspection of the equipment. Investigators discovered bolts and screws had loosened during transit due to vibrations from the road. Somehow the tiny capsule had likely fallen through a small gap in the container while the truck traveled across the state. Once officials understood what happened, a major emergency response began immediately. Authorities issued warnings to the public. People were told not to approach any unknown metallic objects found near roadsides. Search crews began scanning enormous sections of highway using specialized radiation detection equipment. The problem was obvious. The object was tiny. The search area was massive. And if someone unknowingly picked it up, they might not realize the danger until symptoms appeared later. As news spread, public anxiety grew quickly. People started imagining the capsule lying somewhere impossible to notice, at a gas station, near a roadside stop, in gravel beside the highway. Some worried it may already have been carried away accidentally by another vehicle. Others feared someone might have picked it up out of curiosity without understanding what it was. And perhaps the strangest part of the entire situation was how ordinary the capsule looked. No glowing light, no dramatic warning sound, just a tiny silver cylinder, small enough to fit on a fingertip. Invisible danger. The kind people could walk past without ever realizing it. For several days, search crews continued scanning roads inch by inch across enormous distances. And still, nothing. As the search continued across Western Australia, officials faced a growing problem. The longer the capsule remained missing, the higher the chance someone could unknowingly encounter it. Experts explain that close exposure over time could potentially cause skin damage, radiation burns, or increased cancer risk. And because the object was so small, someone could realistically mistake it for harmless debris. Authorities compared the search to finding a needle in a haystack, except the haystack stretched across hundreds of kilometers of isolated road. Search vehicles moved slowly along highways using sensitive radiation detectors capable of identifying tiny increases in radiation levels. Crews scanned road shoulders, truck stops, drainage areas, even sections of tire tracks where the capsule might have bounced after falling from the vehicle. The story quickly spread internationally, partly because of the scale of the search, but also because people found the situation deeply unsettling. A dangerous object had simply vanished somewhere in open public space. No one knew exactly where. Then finally, after days of searching, the capsule was found. A roadside search team detected elevated radiation levels near a remote stretch of highway. There, beside the road, sat the tiny silver capsule, still intact, still radioactive. Officials later confirmed the object had been recovered safely using specialized equipment. And, remarkably, no injuries linked to the capsule were publicly reported. But the story stayed with people for another reason. Because it revealed how something incredibly dangerous can also appear completely harmless. No dramatic warning signs, no obvious threat, just a tiny object lying silently beside an empty road. The incident also raised serious questions about transportation safety and how such hazardous material could have escaped unnoticed during transit. Investigations later examined failures involving the equipment and packaging used during the journey. But for many people following the story at the time, the most unsettling part was imagining how easily the outcome could have been worse. A child picking it up, someone carrying it home, a traveler placing it in their pocket without thinking twice. Today, the incident remains one of the strangest emergency searches in recent Australian history. And somewhere out on that highway, there's still a stretch of road where authorities once searched desperately for a radioactive object no larger than a grain of rice. Before tonight's story ends, I want to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video and want more dark mysteries, creepy encounters, and unsettling stories like this one, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next upload. And if there's a type of story you'd like to hear next, leave a comment below. Whether it's true horror, missing person cases, cryptid encounters, park ranger stories, strange rules stories, haunted locations, or something completely different, I read your suggestions. Your comments help shape future videos on this channel. So subscribe, leave your idea below, and I might turn it into the next story told here, Beyond the Flame.